Hi, I'm Hundley. 20 years ago, or a little bit over 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to help start a new company in Huntsville, Alabama. The company is called Tritium. We're a defense contractor engineering company. And when we started the company, we named the company Tritium, which is a made-up word that's composed of tri, which is three, and diem, which is the Latin singular masculine objective word for God. It literally means three in one God. And why did we name the company that? It's because we made a decision early on with the company that we wanted to do everything as if we were doing it for God. And so we named the company that, and in doing so, we tried to think of everything that we could do to honor God and how we ran the company. And that included reaching out into the community. So some of the employees of Tritium, we started a public charity called the Tritium Foundation. And when we started that public charity and we started looking out at the needs of the community, we looked out there and we saw something that was kind of disappointing but interesting. So the businesses that were helping us and they were showing us how they had gone about this, they would show us their paperwork. And then the nonprofit organizations, they would share us some of the challenges that they had. And there was a period of alignment between what we saw on both sides, that the businesses would often include this phrase in their paperwork that said, "We won't support faith-based outreach." And a lot of the nonprofit organizations, when they'd talk to us about the funding challenges that they had because they had faith included in what they were doing. But that faith was so integral and important to what they were doing. And we just recognized that wasn't right, so we set up the Tritium Foundation and we explicitly called that out as a positive. We recognized very early on that when somebody is sharing the hope and the love of Christ with somebody in need, or when they're helping somebody find their purpose, they're going to be able to do so much more for that person than they otherwise could. And so we recognized that very, very early on with the Tritium Foundation, and we viewed that as a positive. And then a few years ago, we thought, well, how can we do more? How can we do more? Because this is an issue that has persisted for a long time. And we decided to start an event that we called Grounds for Hope. And the idea behind Grounds for Hope is that we want to celebrate the role that faith has in outreach. So when we're talking to nonprofit organizations, we want to help them to be able to tell their stories and to be able to show the impact that faith makes when they're out there doing good things in the community. For the businesses, we wanted to bring in our friends and other businesses and bring them in and let them hear these stories so that when they're supporting organizations, that they would take into consideration the impact that these organizations were making. So we started Grounds for Hope, and we started it, and we came up with this award-style event. It was a dinner event. We'd invite people to come into the dinner, and we would give awards to individuals, recognizing individuals who were making a difference. And then we'd give awards to organizations. And those organizations, the ones that won, we were raising funding for them. So we were able to distribute funding. And over the course of 5 years, we've given out almost $250,000 worth of grants through these events. And it's proved to be an inspiring event for the nonprofit organizations. They don't often get from businesses encouragement to stay the course, to do what God's called them to do. They don't often get that from businesses, so they found this to be very encouraging. And the businesses, likewise, they found this to be encouraging as well, because in many cases, they were just following a process. I had one organization one time that told me, they didn't support faith-based outreach because they preferred to remain neutral in the matters of faith. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, well, it's not very neutral to not fund them because of their faith. That sounds more hostile than neutral. So we just want businesses to think about this a little bit differently. And we're hoping that this will grow, and that it's been a really good event for Huntsville, Alabama. But we also recognize that this is an issue that exists everywhere. So we started thinking about how we could grow Grounds for Hope. And it's been a local event in Huntsville for several years and been very popular. We've reached out into some other communities, and some other communities have come in a little bit, but it's very, very difficult to reach into other communities. And recently we've had a couple of opportunities to take Grounds for Hope to the next level by forming some partnerships with some other organizations. So this year's event is going to be a 2-day conference. So the Grounds for Hope Conference and Events, our Great Commission Conference, will take place on October 13th and 14th. All of the content for this is being produced by another organization called Mission Increase. And we got to know Mission Increase last year. They came and did a workshop for us at our event. And they're doing a whole conference this year, but Mission Increase is an organization that's been around for decades. They specialize in helping faith-inclusive nonprofits, and they're all about helping them to improve their business processes, particularly their fundraising processes, with biblically based approaches. So they are working with nonprofit organizations already, but they're coming in and doing a conference event for this event. That's going to help us to make this appealing for people to come from outside of the Huntsville community and come to our conference. The conference will be the center point of this event for 2 days, but there's other pieces as well. We have a speaker coming in who's a real inspiring speaker who's going to do lunch events for us. His name is Scott Cutlan, and he's written an incredible book called Unreasonable. And his unreasonable is that he felt like God was calling him to leave his high-paying executive position that was a dream job, but he felt like he was calling him to leave this position, and he felt like he was calling him to do some very unreasonable things, one of which was to go climb the 7 summits, the 7 tallest mountains on each continent. And he didn't really know why, didn't really know what God wanted him to do with that, but it's turned into this incredible story of what happens when you just go all in and follow God's plan. And so we're looking forward to Scott being there. He's going to highlight some of our nonprofit organizations through the lunch events. Mission Increase is going to do a great job with the conference. And then our awards event is going to be on the first night, just like it's always been. People can go to our website at g4hope.com, nominate organizations and individuals. We're going to recognize and tell their stories in different ways and have a wonderful awards event the first night. And the second night, we're going to be doing an incredible concert event. Our second partnership is with Billy Smiley and the Music City Collective. We've had a small music component in what we've done with Grounds for Hope every year because part of what we're doing is telling stories. And music is such a wonderful way of telling stories. We've had music in every event we've had, but Billy has taken this a whole nother level. Billy is taking the nominations that we get from Grounds for Hope, and he's using those as inspiration with his artist to write new songs that honor those organizations. We already have a whole CD full of new music from his artist that are honoring, specifically inspired by the stories that have come out of Grounds for Hope. And we're going to be presenting some of those with the Music City Collective at this concert, but we're also bringing in the pioneers, the absolute pioneers of Christian music, Love Song, Honeytree, Randy Matthews, and Phil Keaggy, of course. Phil's going to be playing with everybody. He played with these guys back in the day, and it's just going to be an incredible event. Billy Smiley and John Schlitt from Petra are going to host the event. Union of Sinners and Saints will be there, a full band event with maybe even a few surprises involved. But you're going to want to stay for that celebration of faith that is at the conclusion of the conference. So this is how you can get connected with our event. Go to g4hope.com. Now, I want to tell you this. We have set this conference up so that you can pick and choose what you want to attend. It's going to be 2 fully packed days. But if you don't have time for 2 fully packed days, come to one day. If you can only come to the lunch, come to the lunch. You can pick what pieces you want to come to, but I'd encourage you to come for the 2 full days. You'll be blessed.